All right, everybody, we are back with another episode of After the Whistle. Today, we are going to be talking about my official visit to the University of Florida and how I threw up in the head coach's office. At the time, the head coach of Florida was Coach Mullen. Love Coach Mullen. I had been recruited by him pretty much my entire high school career. Um, and so I had committed to Florida at this time, and I was taking my official visits. I was still taking official visits to other schools, but Florida, like, was my first official visit, obviously, because I was committed to them. If you don't know what official visit is, at least when I was getting recruited, I don't know if the rules still the same. You got 5 official visits. So I think I chose Florida, LSU, Purdue, and I only ended up taking 3, maybe 3 or 4. Ohio State, I don't really remember. But anyways, this is the story of my Florida official visit and what happened. So the official visit is broken down into 3 days usually. It's usually a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and college football teams have a whole recruiting like staff that sets these things up. So you usually come with other recruits, and at this time you're going through the entire recruiting process, and you're starting to know the other recruits just through football camps, all this other stuff. So I show up on a Friday. Now, because I lived in Florida, they had to do was cover my expense to drive up there. Now it's all expenses paid, so usually they'll pay you to fly out, pick you up at the airport, all this other stuff. But since I live basically 2 hours from Gainesville, all they had to do was just me and my family just drove up in an SUV, and they just reimbursed my family for gas money. And then obviously they put us up in a hotel. They have all sorts of gifts and gear and all this different stuff for you to wear throughout the weekend. And then you have a host who's a current player on the team. I had an older tight end at the time. He was my host. And so Friday is you get there, it's kind of later in the day, and you like have like a team activity. So like they'll actually pay the current team members like a stipend to take you out to these team events and food and games and all this stuff. And Gainesville's obviously a huge party town. So, but Friday, I don't know why, I don't know what we did, I don't really remember, but we didn't end up going out on Friday. Now, Saturday was full of a whole bunch of stuff when you woke up in the morning, photo shoots, going around meeting every single person, touring the campus, all the facilities. You don't really meet with coaches on Saturday. That's all for Sunday, which is important to remember in this story. So Saturday we are just basically going around the entire campus, showing the dorms, showing classrooms, just basically what my route would look like throughout the day, facility plans for the new facility, which I got to experience while I was there. So all this different stuff on Saturday, and then they take you out to a super nice dinner. They take your parents somewhere else, and then they have the players go somewhere. So we went to the super nice steakhouse. No, sorry. They have the families and the players together on Saturday and with all the coaches. And, there's probably like 4 or 5 guys usually on an official visit weekend, maybe a few more, maybe a few less, depending on what weekend it is and how busy they are. So we had a huge dinner. Coach Mullen, my coach at the time who was recruiting me at tight end was Coach Scott, and we're all at dinner. And then after dinner, they take the parents to go do something, and then they send you with your host to go out. So my host and I go out, and I get obliterated. Like I'm just acting a fool. I'm drinking entirely too much, and I'm still young, so I shouldn't be, but obviously it's an official visit. I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do. People who say they didn't drink on their official visit either lie or I don't know. You drink on your official visit. That's what happens. And so I ended up getting way, way too drunk and not ended up going back to my hotel till like 6 in the morning. Mind you, Sunday morning schedule was 8 o'clock breakfast. And so I didn't get back to my bed till like 6 in the morning. And I was completely just blacked out drunk. So I set my alarm because I know I'm like, I don't want to miss this. Slept through my alarm. My parents had to come knock on my door and get me at like 7:30. And when I tell you, like, bro, this is like my first time really drinking, and I am so hungover. Like, I'm super, super hungover. And they take us to this super nice breakfast restaurant in Gainesville, which I came to love as I went there, Maple Street. And we sit down and they bring out like these beignets, and I'm like super, super nauseous. And I can't even look at them. Like I go to the bathroom like three times, and my mom sees that something's up, so she's like whispering to me like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine, fine. Just don't talk to me." And like I'm fighting. I'm completely yellow in the face, and so I'm like, I'm about to throw up, and I just like I tell my mom I can't even sit at dinner. I tell the coach I can't even sit at dinner. So I go and lay in the car. I literally go to sleep in the car while they're all at breakfast. At this point, the tight ends coach, he knows what's going on. This isn't the first time this has happened. It probably happens way more frequently than people realize. And so I don't even remember how long it took. And I just remember them coming to the car, and I had just thrown up outside the car. And they're like, "What's wrong?" And obviously I'm 18. I'm like, I don't want to tell my parents I just went out and got drunk last night. And so I'm like, "Oh, we had a late night. I'm sleep deprived, all this stuff." And my dad immediately sees right through it. He knows that I'm drunk, but he doesn't say anything. My mom is like completely believing me that I'm just sleep deprived. And so the next thing we have is to go to the offices, the coaches' offices, and do all our meetings. Like this is like where we go over plays, offense, how they see me fit in the offense, like comparables. So they pull up people who they've had in the past that they think you kind of play into in the coach's system, to basically show you what the vision they have for you at the school within the offense or defense or whatever position you play. And so we get there, and Coach Scott, who was just at breakfast with us, is like trying to have we go into his office, and he's like trying to have me draw these plays up on the board. And I was a super smart football player. I think my best attribute was my football IQ, and I couldn't even stand up. I kept asking me to stand up. And so at this point, he realizes like something is like I'm just so down bad. And so he like leaves the room for a second, and my parents are like, "What's going on? What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired." And so he comes back in with a water bottle. Now, in this water bottle, I do not know this, is an electrolyte packet with salt. It's just salt. Previously, side note, I had a like oh, maybe I'll say that. I'll save that for another story time about when I threw up on Gus Malzahn's shoes at Auburn. So this isn't the first time this happened, but that happened for a different reason. But this electrolyte packet, he pours it into a water and he hands me the water. Now I'm thinking this is just a water when he hands it to me. And so I start chugging it, and like I'm like after like the third chug I realize it's like all salt, and I like literally almost barf all over the floor in his office. And so I go to the bathroom like right across his hall immediately, and I like trying to make myself throw up, and I can't. So I go back in and sit down, and now I just feel even worse, like 10 times worse. And my next meeting is with Coach Mullen in his office, and like we're like so it's my grandpa, my grandma, my mom, and my dad and me. And so we all go into Coach Mullen's office, who's Coach Mullen's the GOAT. Shout out Coach Mullen if you're seeing this. Love you, Coach. Um, but we go into his office and we all sit down. And so his office is kind of structured like, so let's say I'm sitting here, which I was. Mullen was across from me. There was a couch up against the wall where my grandparents were sitting, and then another like two-person couch where my parents were sitting. And I'm like, I start falling asleep because I'm so down bad, like trying not to throw up. And he has like to my right is like this is like personal bathroom in his office. And so we're sitting there, and I'm like, it just hits me like I'm about to throw up everywhere. And so I run to his bathroom, and like it's not loud, like nobody's talking loud, so you can hear me. I'm violently just throwing up into the toilet. And I like walk out of there. I feel great now. I feel great. Now I still look terrible. But I feel great. And so I walk back out. I sit down in the chair, and Coach Mullen looks at me and goes, "Had a good time last night, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe a little bit too good of a time." And he's like, "It's all right. It happens." And so then we take a picture with his glass football, which I'll pop up right here. And he like whispers, like he basically like whispers and is like, Like, it happens all the time. Don't worry about it. And so we're on the so I my parents basically have to like carry me to the car to drive back home. And then on the drive back home, like I'm like laying all the way in the back of the car. And my parents look back, and my mom goes, "You're not tired, are you? You're hungover." And I was like, "Yeah, I got super super drunk last night." So that's a story of how I threw up in the head coach's office at Florida on my official visit. And yeah, that's it for today's episode of After the Whistle. Stay tuned for the next story. It'll be pretty crazy. Peace.